You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Anthony.
an inmate at a federal prison. This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring. Hang up to decline the call or to accept. Dial 5 now.
Good morning, Mr. Wagner.
Good morning, Anthony. I'm sorry it took so long to answer. I didn't understand the system.
No problem. How you doing, my brother?
Well, I'm doing fairly well, but I'm concerned about your legal rights here. And I just did a show last night, mentioned you and Ed Brown.
Okay.
So what's the status? What's going on with your case in Florida where you apparently had a kangaroo trial and it's
Right.
on appeal? And you're trying to deal with the judge in Hawaii, and 2 of the 3 judges are not very conducive to following the law. Do I understand that right?
That's correct. Yeah, the appeal right now, it's in the appeal court's hand right now. You know, we've already filed our brief, our initial brief. They filed their response. We filed our reply. So now I'm just waiting. You know, we're just waiting on the ruling, which I have no certitude that it would be overturned because it was a foreclosure case anyway. There was no grand theft of no house. There was no unlawful filing of no document. Once they, read the trial transcripts and see the evidence that was put in there, they can see that it was a foreclosure case, where I prevented the Bank of America from, kicking these people out on the streets, and they charged me with grand theft of the house because Bank of America couldn't evict them as soon as they wanted to. That's what they charged me with. And the judge in the case was Andrew Siegel. He basically sentenced me to 15 years in prison and 15 years probation after that. Which I told him I'm not going to do not one day of that prison time. I told him that when he sentenced me, because I'm not doing any of that time, and I haven't. So, but then the feds came in with these bogus charges. Now with the case here, my trial is set for January 21st of next year. This will be the 7th continuance that the government has been able to get. But this time, if the judge keeps her word, she told them that she's not continuing it anymore. Either they take me to trial or she's throwing it out.
Explain that in more detail, Anthony.
About the trial?
Yeah, how could this have been continued 7 times? And I sent my director out there to interview you, and he was not allowed to interview you.
Right.
And then the case didn't go forward.
Right. Yeah, they granted another continuance. One of the 4th continuance was when they superseded and indicted my mom. They basically added her because of a MoneyGram that one of my employees sent my mom in 2013 at my direction, from my bank account, my lawful money, to my mom, so she can have the money to bond me out when I got extradited back to Georgia for that false rape and molestation charge. So they end up using that as a wire fraud against her. And I was like, how is that wire fraud against her when I had my employee? I'm the one who had my employee send the money to my mom. My mom's the recipient, but my employee that sent the money didn't get charged with the wire fraud. So how can the person sending the money don't get charged with wire fraud, but the person receiving it? You know what I mean? But there was no fraud involved in it at all. That was my lawful money that I sent to my mom to pay for my bond.
I'm glad you explained that.
Yeah, so they used that to add her because they didn't have nothing else to continue it. So they used that, and then, they used this bogus mental evaluation because, it was supposed to go, she had set it for December 2018. So the government was like, oh, we think he's suffering from a mental illness. We think he needs to be psychologically evaluated. We don't think he's competent to not only stand trial, but to represent himself. So they sent this psychiatrist here. She was supposed to interview me like 6 or 7 times, but she had one conversation with me. She was like, I don't need to talk to you on. But she did a report like, there's nothing wrong with this man, So, but they used that still to continue the trial. So then they changed it to the February date that you sent Stephen out here. So on that date, they was like, oh, we're not ready. We got the Care Law case. So
This call is from a federal prison.
Another case that's going on, and so she continued it a year from that time, which is illegal. All the continuances are over my objection. I've objected to every continuance because I've been very assertive about my speedy trial right, and they violated. So even if they railroad me, I would win on appeal because of my speedy trial rights have been violated. So I'm not worried about that. But I'm just ready for trial because I got about 50 witnesses I'll be calling. I got a couple of expert witnesses that I'll be calling, so I'm ready. They're not ready, and plus I wanted, videotape. So I'm going to put in a motion to ask why you all were denied, when every criminal trial is a matter of public record. So you shouldn't have been denied when you put the application in.
Wow.
And they denied it.
Sounds like they're just trying to punish you by whipping you with the system and dragging it out and denying your right to a trial at all, much less a speedy trial.
Yeah, because they know this.
You're sure you objected on the record every time they continued it?
Yes, every time, and I put in motions every time objecting to every continuance. I objected every time.
And which judges denied your motions?
Kobayashi. Yeah, Kobayashi.
It was always Kobayashi, not the other two judges.
Yeah, because she's the trial judge. The other judge, Manfield, he denied some other motions, but she's the trial judge, so she has a final say so, But I filed a motion for severance because they kept using my co-defendant's attorneys. Like, they're not ready. I said, well, okay, if they're not ready, okay, then I'll file a motion to severance. Since their attorney is not ready, I'm ready. So you sever me, take me to trial, and then you can take them to trial when their attorneys are ready. She denied that motion, which by law she's supposed to grant that because it's prejudicing me. They're out. They're free. I'm still locked up in here, so ain't nobody suffering but me because I'm the one that's confined.
Yeah.
And then because of the pending appeal in Florida, they won't give me a bond because of the Florida hold.
And all this goes back to the simple fact that you were trying to prevent attorneys that claim to represent banks producing fraudulent foreclosure paperwork to steal people's homes, and you were interfering with the bank's criminal activity.
Exactly.
Does that sum it up?
That sums it up. And these judges are getting paid by these banks to basically steal people's home without the requisite trial by jury as required by the 7th Amendment. And I told them, I said, if you have a trial by jury on one of my clients' homes and they lose a jury rules against them, I will help my client move out that house because at that point it was lawful and there's nothing I can do because it's constitutional. I said, but I'll be damned if I let you just take their house without a trial by jury and I don't try to do something about it. And that's the problem. They doing these non-trial by jury foreclosures and violating these people's rights. Everybody's supposed to have a trial by jury. Matter of fact, I got Supreme Court case law that says even if it's a landlord-tenant situation, even if you're renting, that the landlord, if you demand a trial, you got to go to trial before he can even kick you out of your apartment. I got case law on that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got case law on that. You know what I mean? So it's like they're just taking people, non-judicial foreclosures. This is the way the banking industry. No, the banking industry does not trump the Constitution. And so they don't want to hear the Constitution. Like in Florida, I don't know if you saw the motion in limine the state of Florida filed. They filed that they don't even want me to mention the U.S. Constitution in the trial. They don't want me to mention it.
No, I didn't see that motion in limine, but that's amazing. I believe you. I believe you. It's just.
This call is from a federal prison.
Yeah,
I'm looking at, Anthony, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Amendment number 7, says, in suits at common law, where the value of controversy shall exceed $20, the right to trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law.
Common law.
No, here's my question. Are they taking these people's homes under common law? Or are they saying, no, we're using some other procedure where the state allows us to have a non-trial procedure?
No, even the state law says you have to have a trial by jury. If you look at the federal rules of civil procedure and even most of the state rules of civil procedure, is Rule 38. There's a trial by jury. And even in the state constitution, it says you have to have a trial by jury. So no, they're not even following state law. They're not following state law. They're not following state constitution. They're definitely not following the U.S. Constitution.
So
they're violating the law.
When this judge said he's not going to allow the U.S. Constitution into his court, he was basically saying you can't bring up the 7th Amendment because it's part of the Constitution.
Right, and at that point, I told him he should be removed for treason against the United States, and he should be hung for treason, because that's warring against the Constitution.
Which judge? That was the Judge Siegel in Florida, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Siegel. Yeah.
So why hasn't Trump had him indicted for treason?
Exactly. You know what I mean? All of them. Every judge I went before, none of them will admit that they have an oath of office to uphold the U.S. Constitution, and they do not have an oath to uphold no statute, rules, codes, or regulations. They only have one oath, and that's to uphold the U.S. Constitution. That's it. But they're not trying to hear the Constitution because the Constitution protects your rights.
We're dealing with a criminal mafia that has infested the entire judiciary, then, aren't we?
Yes, it's the biggest RICO organization the world has ever known, United States judicial system. The biggest RICO organization in the world. And it's sad that most Americans, they think that we have a good judicial system, and we don't. We have a bunch of crooks running the system.
It would
if
appear
they would just halfway follow the law, it would be all right, but they don't even follow their own laws.
Yeah, I see the same thing in family court, in custody battles, and in all kinds of things. And the same thing with Renee Powers. She's still fighting with on appeal from Judge David O'Carter, who initially told her, she was going to have a trial, and the trial never happened.
Exactly.
Still hasn't happened.
They can't win that trial. They know they can't win. But I heard that they attacked you too.
Yeah, it was interesting. They literally pulled the cable wire that feeds my house, comes to the corner of my lot from across the street, and I'm getting this documented. I just went to the Comcast cable company yesterday to get them to send me a letter and show me the notes of the cable repairman. But somebody went to a great deal of trouble to remove the cable so that I could upload nothing to the internet. I could receive no messages. And in fact, this morning you were supposed to call on my other number, 928-1100, and that phone was working fine last night. This morning it says check the telephone line.
Wow.
That's why you're calling on a line that, somebody's trying to stop communications.
Yeah,
and
they're trying to stop the truth because they know you're exposing the corruption. They don't want the truth to be known, and they know you're a man of truth, and that you're exposing these lies and this corruption, and they're trying to do everything to prevent you from getting the word out about what's going on. That's what's happening.
Yeah, so they'll probably cut off this cell phone line next time you try to call me. They'll find my provider and cut that off too. But we caught them off guard because but at least you had it.
Yeah.
This is interesting, and I think I still have about 6 months or 5 months to put in another media request, which Judge Yobayashi will deny, and then I'll appeal it to the 9th District because I think this is a case of first impression.
You might as well go and appeal it now from the first order. Don't give them another chance. Go and appeal it now from the first denial. But I'm going to put in a motion, too. I'm going to put in a motion this week to have you be able to come. And, I'm going to put in the case law on that, too. So I'll put in it this week. But it's getting ready to hang up. We got about 5 or 10 seconds. But, man, I appreciate you, Mr. Wagener. I love you, my brother.
Well, he used up his time, which was about 15 minutes. That was Anthony Williams calling in from a prison in Hawaii, a beautiful state to visit, but a terrible state to sit in prison when your rights are being denied. I'm William Wagener in Santa Maria, California. I think Anthony was very clear. He's obviously not a mental case, and that's one of the things the old Soviet Union used to do. When people like Solzhenitsyn and other Russians would claim that the system is tyrannical, they would have them get a mental checkup. And if they could get the psychiatrist to say you're crazy, then you didn't get a trial because you can't have a trial with a crazy person. That's where America has come to. William Wagener, for On Second Thought, hoping I gave you second thoughts, and suggesting a remedy that goes back to a Carolina case in 1790s, where the grand jury is not made up of people appointed by a judge. Grand jury of 15 to 24 people, 25 I think is the limit. Those people who saw a crime, know of a crime, can come together, form their own grand jury, appoint their own foreman, and then take evidence, vote on the evidence, and indict even a sitting judge. And apparently this judge in Hawaii, as well as Judge Siegel in Florida, would be prime candidates for such a grand jury to form. How you would form a grand jury like that with people scattered all over the country that support Anthony's fight to help people stay in their own homes when the banks or the attorneys claiming to represent the bank or a financial institution are using falsified documents. And in my whistleblower video down in San Diego on April 25th, we got the faces of some of those people we strongly suspect are guilty